In this episode of Mighty Brumby Mods, we are finishing the Brumby.
Welcome to another episode of Mighty Car Mods featuring our Subaru Brumby. It looks a little different from when we yanked it out of that barn all that time ago, but it's been very satisfying to see it come together. A lot of work and a lot of help from some mates who's been giving us a hand along the way to make it all happen.
Do you actually do this for a job, or have you restored a car in your garage before? It is a massive, massive job. This is not like throwing a pod filter on and doing a flash tune. It is absolutely huge. So if you actually do this or your business does this, first of all, respect.
Yeah.
Today we got a couple of experts coming down. We got the Brumby boys coming in from Western Australia
and Melbourne
and Victoria as well. They're going to be helping us out. It will be finished today. We're out of time. We got to turn the key. We got to start. First job, Marty is going to be making the shifter work, so that actually works. There's a bunch of nerdy fuel stuff to do, a cooling system, and then I'm going to be helping put the interior back together, which is going to be a puzzle in itself.
Huge.
All the rat's nests are out now, so I reckon, Martin, we just kick right in.
We're just going to go into it. Let's go.
Dave and Scott had such a good time when we last had them over that they jumped at the chance to come back and help us finish this mad Brumby. It looks like Marty, though, has had a bit of a battle on his hands making the shifter work. The gearbox, tail shaft, shifter and exhaust are all fighting over a very small amount of real estate. So even though it currently does change gears, it looks like we're going to have to reconfigure this section completely from scratch. Next up, we have to make the fuel system work. Originally the Brumby was a carby car and it had a pretty basic low pressure pump to send fuel up to the engine to make mysterious old school atomization magic happen. We're going to be utilising the hard lines on the car but upgrading to a high pressure EFI pump.
This is the CV shaft out of the Subaru Forester. We need to use it in our Brumby. Now you might have seen, went to the engineering shop and got some made. That is too long for the Brumby. Why? Because the Forester's got a wider track than a Brumby. So what we've got made is this awesome looking thing, which is the shaft that goes between the two. So you can see from there it's just a little bit shorter, in our case about 85 millimeters shorter. That is the secret sauce to make a Forester gearbox fit a Brumby, but you also need to use the Forester hubs. If you're going to use Brumby hubs, this end has to be different, or one of the ends has to be different. But in our case, we're just essentially shortening a Forester shaft. So what I'm going to do is use all the hardware from the Forester shaft. I've also got brand new, genuine Subaru boots for both ends, and then new circlips to go on. This goes on there, and we rebuild it, and then we have a brand new Brumby shaft. So time to pack this CV joint. Make sure you get grease. That is for CV joints. It'll usually say on the back. It's one of those things where there's like 16 different versions of grease and you end up having to read each and every one, but there are different sort of compounds and stuff in there. Sometimes it's a moly grease, sometimes it's a rubber grease. You don't want to get it wrong, but if it says CV for something like this, you're all good. So you need a big scoop of it. Luckily it matches the paint on the outside, and that is how you do it. You have to make the noise. If you don't make the noise, you're not doing it right.
Once it's all greased up, the metal bands can go on.
Okay, moment of truth. I really hope this fits.
Happily for us, the drive shafts slot straight into place. And now that they're in the gearbox, we can reinstall our front hubs, which means we can fit our freshly reconditioned brakes. We've had the calipers cleaned and powder coated, new seals put in, and thanks to our glorious pile of Subaru genuine parts, we have new clips, pads and rotors to go on as well.
things are progressing well. A little update for you. We've got our power steering in. Dave's now working on getting the power steering lines to work. He's actually used a hybrid of the Forester ones and then adapted it into the MY wagon rack, which fits a Brumby. Subaru things, people, it even blows my mind, and I've been doing this for a while. We've also got a little bar under jacking plate there as well, which means we can also fit our bash plate. The next big job for me now is to get the cooling system working. So Dave is working on wiring, Scott's working on finishing off driveline things, putting drive shafts in, stuff like that, and I'm going to try and get cooling working. And then, assuming that it does plug in and everything fires up, we'll have a running Brumby. Let's cross our fingers.
What's exciting about a build like this is how many talented, experienced people all play together like an automotive orchestra to help make this Brumby sing. Trying to do a job like this by yourself, while it would be possible, would be an absolutely huge undertaking that you could very easily spend a lifetime achieving. Meanwhile, we're trying to do the bulk of this conversion in just a couple of short weeks, and the whole restoration being completed in less than 6 months. And this is alongside creating all of the unique regular videos that come out every week on Mighty Car Mods. It simply would not be possible without our friends and experts coming along for the ride, and we are so stoked that they were so excited to be part of this build. The next step is to fill the car up with Castrol Edge, and then we'll be moving on to getting the radiator system set up in the car.
While Dave works his magic installing his custom-made wiring loom, I'm going to try and get a radiator into this thing. There's a little bit less room in the nose of a Brumby when you swap an EJ20 into it. I've chosen to use an aftermarket alloy radiator as it gives me flexibility to cut off and re-weld the inlet and outlet pipes. It's a tricky job that I've been putting off as it pushes my welding skills out of my comfort zone. I'm going to have to cut off and cover up the original lower pipe. I'm going to use leftover bits that I cut off as it's more likely to weld back to itself. Then I'll grab a new bend and place it in the right position to get the radiator hose onto it. I'll do a similar thing at the top, but once that's all done, I just have to cross my fingers that it doesn't leak. To check, I'm going to fill it with water first, run it, and then change to coolant once I know it's watertight. Now the radiator's in, we can finish off the front end.
Made some excellent progress. The radiator is mounted. The welds I did in there seem to have held up, which is pretty exciting on Ali. Dave is making our wiring look beautiful, putting positive and negative terminals in there ready for the battery. And we're getting really close to starting it, actually. So next up, we're going to put some fuel in it. Dave's going to make sure he's happy with all the wiring stuff, and we are going to try and see if it runs. Brumby is full of nice, fresh 98 petrol in this case. So next we are going to flush the fuel lines. So to do that, we're going to prime the fuel pump. So turn the key. As long as all Dave's wiring works properly, we should see fuel spit out up the front. We're going to flush the lines. We've replaced pretty much all the fuel lines anyway, but just to be sure there's nothing in them, we're going to flush them, both the feed and the return, and then we're going to try and start it. So our fuel system is looking good. A bit of dirty crap came out, so I'm glad that we cleared that out. We've now checked for leaks, no leaks. Now we're going to crank it, but because the engine has been rebuilt, we don't want it to actually run yet, so we're going to disconnect the ECU so there's no fuel and no spark, and now we're going to crank it, listen for bad noises and stuff falling out of it. Like an unhappy starter motor. Cooked starter motor, eh, is what that is.
That sounds like it.
Yeah.
That's a bit extreme.
Yeah.
Which way is...
Cooked starter motor. Cool. Time for first start. Everything's done, fuel system's flushed, everything's powered up. I think it's time.
It looks amazing.
It looks so
like
good.
the whole car's it looks like it should start.
That always helps. All right.
Let's do it.
You ready, Dave?
Yep.
Do it, man.
I hear fuel pump. Well done.
Like a stock one.
Well done, boys. That's freaking awesome. Well done.
Brumby, everybody. EJ20 powered Brumby. Listen to it. Give it a little rev, Dave.
That's
So
unreal.
good. So good. Now let's finish everything else.
There's so much still.
There's so much to do.
So much still to go.
Let's go. Feeling keen. Righto, kill it.
Yeah, maybe a kebab, then we'll hook into it.
This is a huge milestone. It's been hundreds of hours of work so far, and while it still has a bit of orchard dirt in places and it's not yet perfect, it feels like we've come a long way. This means installing our freshly recovered dash, which we've had to send interstate to be restored to as new, and then fit all the interior pipes, hoses and cables that make the fan and heater work correctly. The last 10% of finishing a project car like this has a habit of sucking in just as much time as the big jobs, like getting an engine in, and we want it to look as good as possible. Marty's still got a few parts to clean up and reinstall, and our diff is getting some fresh fluid so it's ready to drive. We've asked our friend Miles from Flux 3D for some help making a custom center console.
Hey Miles, how you doing?
Good, man.
Welcome to the internet.
Oh, thank you. I've been here before.
Not really welcome. You've probably seen Miles over many, many years helping us with all sorts of amazing things. He's a very, very clever fellow. If he's in the room, he's the smartest guy in the room.
Oh.
It's true. What have you got for us?
We have some dashboard pieces for you.
All right, let's go have a look. So as well as, of course, updating the engine and interior of the car, we also want to update the entertainment. So inside this box, there's fancy things. Miles is going to get some of those things out. What we're actually trying to do is replace the factory entertainment system. Look at this, a Clarion cassette player with some of the modern kind of conveniences and entertainment that you get with a modern Subaru. So we're putting in this, which is a double-din unit here, which will run CarPlay as well. Obviously, the car is not designed to accommodate that. Insert Miles. What have we made? What have we got?
So
Tell us everything.
Everything. All right. So we have, this is the stock piece of Brumby dashboard that is now 2 bits of stock Brumby dashboard. So that normally sits like that. You've got your Clarion deck in there. So I cut that out. Then we 3D scanned what was left over.
Yep.
And then
That with one of those little handgun things?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Cool. Can't they cost like millions of dollars sometimes?
they do, but they don't. As
Okay.
Well. Yeah.
All right, good.
There's a scale. And then we designed this in Fusion 360
That's solid.
and printed it out of resin.
Now, don't even start to tell me that this, that's going to adapt this modern head unit, fits into this.
Well, that's
Because the whole internet is about to go wild if that's the case. Don't do the insertion shot. Don't even do it.
Don't do it?
Stop it. That is unreal. Dude, that is so cool. So there you go. That's converting Brumby stuff to modern stuff. You're very clever, Miles.
Thank you, mate.
Well done.
And there's a little pocket here too, so you can put your change or your whatever you're going to put in there.
Oh, that goes in there.
That goes in there like that.
Should we see if it actually fits in the car, or is there some other stuff that needs to go in there first before
think
we can attach this?
We should probably attach this to this first and
Yes.
then try to put it in the car and then probably put the interior of the car in first.
Nice.
So we can get our center console sitting just right, we're going to install some new molded carpet to replace the rat-infested vinyl that came out of the Brumby. We're using the old stuff as a template and cutting the carpet to fit. This always requires a bit of fiddling to get it just right, but once it's in, it'll look great, and as a bonus, it'll keep the cabin a bit quieter too.
Here's an update, people. Aaron's dropped in, getting carpet in. It's a bit of a tricky job, not an easy one at all. I messed around with the shifter for hours and hours and hours and hours, and it's coming good. Miles, we're about to get on some speakers because we can't hear our mad system without speakers in the door. Starting to put some sound deadening in there to make it sound nice. Done a heap of painting. All our interior bits have been painted up. Now it's time for speakers and wiring and trims and just little bits and pieces that sort of make it come together. But it's starting to look like a car in there now. Really, really cool.
A few more mates dropped in, grabbed some tools and helped us out. I'm constantly amazed at how motivating kebabs can be.
The final 5%. This is where you got to stay strong. Hold your resolve. Hold the line. Be determined. Be courageous. and insert the indicators.
Well, yeah, and put on trims and stuff that has been sitting there being painted and being fixed, and then trying to find those parts that went missing. And also fixing stuff that's broken. So far, I've been really lucky. Not much stuff has actually broken or gone wrong, and here I am waving this right now. Fresh paint.
Yeah, get me
it's
worried.
that. It's kind of like that.
Let's take a step forward.
Yep. And so, so now it's a matter of testing it. The thing moves under its own power, which is great, but I'm not entirely happy with the shifter, so it's going to be back on the hoist and make sure that it shifts gears properly, because then things like wheel alignments have to happen. And of course, engineering.
Take the wheel, let's go, I'll follow you. Say my name, I'll do anything you wanna do. On the run, we're chasing headlights. The road destroyed, let's make some noise. We'll make the whole world hear us tonight. And I need you now, more than ever.
It is looking absolutely incredible, but you can't see any more yet. You got to wait. You have to wait till the next episode. There's a couple of tiny... Oh, dude. That seat looks fantastic.
Doesn't it? It fits, like, brilliantly.
It's so good. Next episode, you're going to get to see the finished car.
There's a few finishing touches that we are gonna make you wait, because we want to drive it, we want to take it somewhere epic, we want to do all the little things and just show you when it looks like $1 million.
All right, so see you next time, where we will reveal for the very first time this completely restored Subaru Brumby.
Of course, don't forget, if you are in Australia, you could end up owning this Brumby. It is being raffled to raise funds for the Australian Road Safety Foundation, and click the thing below.
Yeah, thank you very much to Subaru Australia, who of course are celebrating 50 years in Australia, hence why they got behind this build. There's a link down below, click on that, it's everything you'll need to know, and you could end up behind the wheel of this awesome restored Brumby, restored by Mighty Car Mods and friends, and ready for your farm, ready for your goat farm, ready for your apple farm. It's a Subaru, it's ready for anything. Check out the link down below.